All right, so this is going to be my information based off of question number 1. And now you're going to need your graphing calculator out. I'm going to teach you a new button that we will be using in our calculator. So what this says is a local newspaper polled a random sample of 330 voters, finding that 186 who say they will vote for Lloyd Debler for mayor. So we're trying to figure out, who's going to be the mayor of the city, and they polled 330 voters, and 186 of them say they're going to be voting for Lloyd. So they want to create a 95% confidence interval for the proportion of voters that support Lloyd. Because obviously we're probably not talking about our whole voting population if we only surveyed 330 voters. So first step, we want to talk about the fact that we are going with, sorry, I'm thinking there. My p-hat is 186 people out of 330. So when I look at this p-hat, remember that's just of my sample. So if you come up with that calculation, I'm going to do 186 divided by 330. So my p-hat here is based off of this survey. I'm going to round that to 0.56. I'm laughing because the cat is scratching at the door here, if you can hear it. So my p-hat is 56%, which makes my q-hat 44%. Let me handle the cat very quickly here. Sorry about that. So again, I want you to think about your standard deviation here. Now I'm going to come up here for a second and in a minute and talk, but you guys know that your standard deviation is based off of the square root of your p-hat times your q-hat, all divided by your sample size, which is 330. So in this specific question, my standard deviation, if you guys want to pause and calculate this yourself, we're going to take the square root of, now I do an alpha y equals, and I'm going to type in 0.56 multiplied by 0.44 all over 330, making my problem look just like what's on my screen right here. And I know my standard deviation is 0.273, so we're going to call that 0.0273, sorry. 0.0, we're going to call it 0.027. So my standard deviation is 0.027. So I want you to kind of think back for a second. I want you to think back about, when we did our curve here, we're expecting our information to be there, and we're going off of this 56%, and we want to be 95% confident that, remember this right here, I'm going to highlight these guys in blue for you. This was my 99% confidence interval. If I do it here, it's 95% confident that we're going to find the true proportion inside this data. Now, this one I'm going to do a couple different ways. I want you to look here for a second. I want you to take your 0.56, your 56% in your calculator, and I want you to add in 0.027. I'm going to scroll here for a second and make my curve a little bit bigger so we can analyze. So we know that this guy right here was my 0.56. And if I go out 1, I added my 0.027, and I got right here was 0.587. And if I go up another 1, come up with my 95, but remember within 2 standard deviations, and then a 0.027. I get about 0.614. So that's about 61.4%. I'm going to come down here, and I'm really looking for this one right here because I want to go all the way from these two ranges. And I want to go 0.056, and I want to subtract my 0.027, and I got, I'm sorry, 0.56 minus 0.027. So I got 0.533, and subtract another standard deviation, which is 0.506. So technically, based off of this estimate of my normal curve, I am 95% confident that somewhere between 50.6% of the true proportion, the true group, the whole group, I am 95% confident that somewhere between 50.6 and 61.4% of the entire population is going to vote for Lloyd Dobler here. So if you come back here and you look at this formula, you took your 50% and we talked about this as being 2 standard deviations. Our z-score here was 2. It was 2 entire standard deviations above the mean or below the mean. Look at this subtracting. This is above the mean. I added 2 standard deviations, and this guy right here was subtracting. I was subtracting 2 standard deviations. 1, 2 above the mean, 1, 2 below the mean. So there is where I come up with this crazy formula. So I want you to think your formula states this. You take the percentage of your sample population, and you figure out what your z-score is when I'm trying to do a 95% confidence interval. I'm going to teach you in a second how to find your 98 and your 90% or 99 and your 90% confidence interval. And then you're going to take those, how many standard deviations you are above or below the mean, and you're going to multiply those to figure out where do you stand. So final answer for this question number 1 is I stand 95% confident that somewhere between 50.6 and 61.4% of my population will be voting for Lloyd. I'm going to join another video for question number 2 and go from there.